Back quicker than you can say Kennedy and Chekawani. It's Monday. Your boys are back in town. Back in the saddle again. I'm coming to you straight from Indiana. The state where you blink and you miss it. Meanwhile,
it feels the same over here.
The man on my left is coming to you straight from the king of the Midwest, Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio. Yeah. Look, Dominic, you could say that, but I think Ohio is worth a little more than that. I think Ohio's they're the top dog of the Midwest over there. That's the way I look at it. So
it's a nifty little state. It's our first love, right? You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Born and raised.
But Dominic, how are you feeling? We had 3 cards this weekend: PFL, Bellator, UFC. You graduated with your master's degree. So, is there a term for that? Like, do I have to call you Dr. Dom now, or like?
Yeah. So I'll probably just add it to my bottom name right here.
Dominic Salee,
MBA.
Yeah, MBA.
No, I'm just kidding, guys.
Here soon, the doctorate's going to come, Dr. Dom.
Dr. Dom, yeah, Dr. Dom. I appreciate it. Noah showed some love on the Twitter for me, and I do appreciate that. And Instagram, actually, he posted on there too. What a guy. But yeah, not much has changed. It's so weird, right? Like, I'm done with school, but it hasn't set in because it's one of those weird summer sessions where there's still another portion. So I got to wait to like get my paper in the mail and all, walk and meet the dean and all that shit. Shout out Dr. Rodney
Rogers, you know, our
yes, it's RR. Yes, I was saying both, thinking that's his,
the guy that's the head of the whole school.
Yeah, I have a picture with him. Anyways, terrible representation of the school there. But anyway, I'm here to talk about the UFC, the Bellator, the PFL results with my friend Noah, and it was just jam-packed. I'm a little bit fight hungover, but nothing crazy compared to the last 2 weeks, which, thank goodness, I can't keep doing it every Sunday. It's a wear and tear on the body, on the mental. But yeah, it was a good weekend. How was your weekend, Noah, over to the west of me?
I just got out of a shower like 30 minutes ago. Literally just had to pull myself out of bed to do this. So if that tells you how my fight hangover is going, it's not been easy. It's the 3 cards, man. It just yesterday I felt like a marathon runner.
Yeah.
Don't laugh, anybody listening. I know that sounds a little crazy for someone like me to say, but I realized, Dominic, it's time for me to invest in a second TV for the living room.
Yeah.
I cannot keep doing one on the TV and one on my laptop. So I had the PFL on the TV. I had Bellator on the laptop. I'm also live tweeting both cards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going, one fight's ending, another's beginning. While I'm typing the tweet for PFL, all
someone
of a sudden
else
there's
is
a big
getting knocked
knockout.
out.
Guys, it was an absolute marathon of a Friday. I wouldn't have it any other way because, truthfully, I mean, that's the best way you can experience some of that content is just like nonstop.
Soaking it in. Yeah.
But I need another TV. And I was thinking, I'm like, man, football season's coming up. Like, I don't want to have to do this for football season. Like,
so you're gonna have to buy 3 TVs.
Don't tempt me.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, that's what I would say. I mean, yeah, did the student loans send me some emails like, hey, you got to start paying July 14th?
Oh shit.
Maybe. But so kind of a downer.
Yeah.
When you're trying to make a TV budget.
Right.
But you know what? I will persevere. That's what I was saying.
If anyone will, it's you, my friend.
Yeah. And Dominic, I feel like a winner. You feel like a winner. We all feel like winners. And that's because the main event of UFC Vegas 57 at the Apex saw what was a terrific 5-round battle between Mateusz Gamrot and Arman Tsarukyan. Gamrot does get his hand raised. Unanimous decision victory for him. 5 rounds, just a grueling fight, grueling pace that both guys put on. Brutal strikes to the body from Tsarukyan. Gamrot just had that what's the word? Like, he didn't quit with his pressure from going for the takedowns, scrambles. It was a fantastic fight. I'm just gonna put this out there now. Look, there was some controversy with the scoring. A controversy that in my opinion, isn't as talked about as it probably should be. But I'm just going to put this out there because I don't want this to be what we really focus on here.
Right. Get it out of the way early.
Ultimately, the scoring of this fight, I think, was an absolute sham. If you scored the fight for Mateusz Gamrot, more power to you. Like, I'm not trying to act like I know fights better than you. If anything, I probably know him scoring a lot less than you based on what we've seen the last few weeks. But the 3 judges got this fight wrong. Arman Tsarukyan clearly won the majority of the rounds in this fight. They should be ashamed of themselves. They have robbed a man. Oh, I did say it. Wasn't planning on saying it, but I did. They robbed a man of a victory. Half of his purse gone. And I don't like that. I don't like that a guy that clearly wins a fight has to walk away with a loss, less of a paycheck, etc. They should be ashamed of themselves. But I'm not going to let them win. I'm not going to let these terrible judges guide our discussion in a direction that I do not want it to go. Because ultimately, Dominic, what we got in this main event was one of the most highest of level MMA bouts of the year between 2 guys who are ranked number 11 and number 12 in their divisions. And they went out there and proved they are much better than the 11th and 12th ranked lightweight in the world. So we're not going to let the judges win here. I put it out there how I feel. I think it was a robbery. But both guys come out of this looking so good that it really doesn't matter, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that being said, your thoughts on the fight, Dominic? Kind of where does it stack up in terms of some of the best fights of the year, in your opinion? And maybe also, just to kind of get the ball rolling on the discussion, what surprised you about this fight? We learned a lot about both guys. Tsarukyan, the first time he went 25 minutes, you saw this fight was mostly fought on the feet, and that's something that Gamrot has not been used to. You know, what surprised you? Was there anything that maybe disappointed you about either guy's performance? Just where does your mind go when you break down this fight?
Yeah, absolutely. No disappointment anywhere. These guys checked all the boxes. They made this fight as good as you could have expected. Honestly, way more than what I expected. It was just so nonstop. The pace in which they fought was so insane, and neither guy really wore it too bad. Even in that 5th round, I mean, I would say Gamrot stayed a little bit more fresh, but Tsarukyan was still right there with him the whole time, man. It was just such a back and forth. Again, like Noah said, just some of the most high-level MMA we've seen of 2022. Definitely in that fight of the year list right now, and there's so many in it. So, yeah, I mean, this is the halfway point of the year, right? And what a way to go out. This is 3 amazing back-to-back UFC main events in a row. I can only hope that it stays that way going into International Fight Week this coming Saturday. To me, man, like, you know, the 11 versus 12, they are way better than that. They looked like top 5 lightweights, dare I say, last night. They were just so ultra impressive. The skill sets are just so complete for both guys. And even more so, again, for Tsarukyan only being 25 years old, man, and his only losses in the UFC was a short notice, razor-thin fight with Islam Makhachev, and now another razor-thin decision to Mateusz Gamrot, who's another up-and-comer in himself, just a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. So it was just such an amazing fight. So many great takeaways. That what these guys did, what they put on display for the fans should outweigh any scorecard, should outweigh any critiques and cries and all this shit. Like, just let that go aside. These were 2 amazing martial artists at their peak, at their prime performance last night. And you don't get to see that very often. So this was a very special fight. It was.
It was. And we had been really in support of this being the main event. So it's nice to just see that it fully delivered. The fight delivered. Both guys come out here looking like absolute studs, regardless of, the scorecards aside. These guys were ranked number 11 and number 12. They're going to walk away from this being ranked number 11 and number 12.
They're just going to
flipped.
Yep.
But in my opinion, Dominic, when it comes to like matchmaking these guys, we got to look both of them ahead.
Both have to be top 10.
Yeah, both have to be competing for top 10.
If they get a top 5
spots.
guy, that's fine too. Yeah.
So I'll just say a little bit about the fight itself. Kind of what led me to sort of have my opinion on this fight is Tsarukyan. I mean, this fight was fought mostly on the feet.
Yes.
And it felt like Mateusz Gamrot, what it felt like his game plan was he was letting Arman sort of throw his strikes. A lot of body kicks were being thrown. Brutal body kicks, by the way. A lot of good combinations from Arman.
So quick.
It looked like Gamrot maybe got caught doing a little bit of window shopping through certain rounds because it felt like he was waiting for Arman to make some sort of a mistake, some sort of opening that he could pounce on and get a takedown off of and try to get the back and maybe get a submission. It just didn't happen for him, really, not until the later rounds. So you found in the early rounds, because those are the ones that Arman clearly won, rounds 1 and 2, where it felt like, Gamrot just wasn't he didn't have a high level of output, and I think that was just because, for one, he was a bit outmatched on the feet.
Yeah.
But I don't think he really even was, again, I don't think he was really even throwing much out there. I thought Arman was just much more active and obviously had much more behind his strikes and was landing at a much more efficient clip. Now, I think the biggest weapon that Gamrot had in this fight was that gas tank. He is a guy that former M1 champion, KSW champion. So he's went 5 rounds before. And it showed. Arman looked, to his credit, looked good even in rounds 4 and 5, but definitely it slowed compared to Mateusz Gamrot, who, despite taking the blunt of the punishment, I thought, was like as fresh as could be.
Yeah.
And it just really showed in rounds 4 and 5 what a hell of a chin he has and his ability to take punishment. I mean, the body strikes, like you thought one of those might put him down, and they really didn't. A couple of them definitely kind of had him, you could tell that he didn't like it. But in rounds 4 and 5, I mean, that dude was still just going for it, going for those takedowns, just would not give it up and started to secure him once Arman started to slow a little bit. It was a fantastic fight. It really heightened both guys' skill sets. Like, it really heightened their strengths, showed how good their strengths are. The grappling exchanges where both would be on the ground were kind of a marvel to watch.
Yes, beautiful.
In a lot of ways, it answered certain questions about both guys. We had questions about how Arman would do over 5 rounds. We had questions on Gamrot, who maybe those questions may still be there a little bit, but really it's not. Like, to me, yes, this fight proved that he is a bit limited as a striker, but it
not
really
in
matter.
like that's the thing, because his grappling is so good that it almost makes up for very minimal difference in striking. Dare I say?
I thought Arman was quite a bit better of a striker. I'm just. Yeah. Are you saying you don't think that, or are you?
No, Arman was clearly the better striker, but the grappling of Gamrot in this fight, but in general, just in going forward, can make up for any gap that he may have against other opponents.
I agree to a certain extent. I agree because I think that a lot of his opponents are going to be so concerned with the takedown that it's going to give him a lot of openings on the feet. It didn't really do that here because Arman you saw when his ability to maintain balance in some of those takedown attempts was crazy. But I do think against certain opponents, even higher ranked opponents, I think Mateusz Gamrot's going to give him a lot of problems with his takedowns, and ultimately that'll give him openings on the feet.
Yes.
But it is still a limitation for him. And I would argue that with the way the scorecards are supposed to be written out, damage is key. Damage is number one.
Yep.
I do wonder how he'll do if he's not able to get a submission finish and he has to requires him to go 15, 25 minutes of, damage comparison between him and his opponent. I'm not sure how many times he's going to be able to say he put more damage on his opponent than vice versa. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I do think there's still a question mark for him in that facet. But it doesn't matter right now because I think that both these guys are true top 10, maybe even top 5 lightweights in the world. And Dominic, this is where it's going to get a little fun. I think we should talk about what fights we think might be ahead for both these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should I start with Mateusz Gamrot, or is there
You
one
shall.
you want to get out
You
there?
shall. Yeah.
And this is my ambitious one. I'll be honest. Right now, Mateusz Gamrot probably going to be ranked number 11 come Tuesday.
What did you hear his call out? I guess first question, real quick.
No, I did not.
He wants Gaethje.
Okay, well that's not who I'm giving.
Okay.
But I'm still being ambitious, but maybe not as ambitious as
That's
Gaethje.
that.
I'm going Beneil Dariush.
Oof.
Beneil Dariush is kind of the odd man out in this top of the heap at lightweight. Very much so. Beneil Dariush ranked number 6 right now. He's kind of fallen just a couple spots. I felt like he was ranked number 2 or 3 not too long ago, and he's sort of just fallen out of favor, I guess, due to a lot of the shakeups in that top of the heap. Dariush should be in a position where he wins one more fight and he gets a title shot. But unfortunately, I don't see where, unless he's fighting Islam Makhachev next, because it's kind of, we don't really know our next title fight.
Yeah.
We assume it's Islam Charles. But Dana, every time Dana talks, it's that how much he loves Islam Beneil as a fight.
Right.
So if Islam Beneil doesn't happen, and Beneil just kind of ends up being the odd man out in these matchups, him and Mateusz Gamrot I think is a super intriguing fight, an absolute just marvel of a fight.
Yeah.
And there might be a question mark on, is that really the win that gives him a title shot? Kind of depends on how he looks. And honestly, who's to say that even if Beneil fought I don't know, if he fought the winner of RDA
And
Fiziev,
yeah.
Who's to say him winning that would give him a title fight? There's these guys in front of him, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Islam, Michael Chandler. They all have sort of bigger names right now. Have more.
Yeah.
I don't want to say more momentum, because Beneil is riding a lot of momentum. If you've been paying attention,
Yeah.
it's just he's in a tough spot. But I think, and I know it's not a fight that he probably is going to want to take, but that's the one that I'm going to put out there, him and Mateusz Gamrot.
Yeah, I love that fight. I think it's really one of the only ones you can do for Gamrot anyways, and it's one that would launch him into near the top 5 territory amongst those contenders. And for me, matchmaking for the loser, even though, again, no losers in this fight, but Arman Tsarukyan, I think it's actually pretty great. I think the timeline's pretty great that he fights the winner of Brad Riddell and Jalen Turner this week at International Fight Week. Those guys are fighting for that top 14, top 15 spot. I would imagine, I feel like Arman can still fight upward. It's just a matter of having an opponent there for him, and that I just don't think is there yet. Maybe someone in the RDA Fiziev, depending on how that goes in 2 weeks. But I really like Arman versus Riddell and Jalen Turner winner.
Well, spoiler alert, I'm going to put Arman against the winner of RDA Fiziev. The winner.
Hey, I like both. The winner. Okay.
You could argue it could be the loser because he did lose here.
Yeah.
But I refuse to accept that.
Right.
I'm treating this as a win for both guys.
Right.
A la Jose Aldo losing to Marlon Moraes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am treating this as a victory. And you can't there's nothing you can do about it.
So Arman title shot. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I do think, the winner of Fiziev RDA, though, versus Arman, that is a just
Sick
5-round fight for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a great fight. But
I do worry.
I think your Jalen Turner Brad Riddell fight's a great one. When you said it, it kind of deflated me a little bit, because I'm like, man,
I know.
we're really sending Arman back to I thought he won this fight.
Right. And
Clearly
you're treating
won
it as
this fight.
such. Yeah.
So if anything, I would say Mateusz it's almost like I'm almost wanting to double down and go, well, Mateusz Gamrot should take that fight, because even though he won, he didn't really win. But that's not how it works.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with both. I love both, and the good thing is they're back to back. We're gonna see them the next 2 weeks, and we're gonna know hopefully soon. So I love it.
Yep. Let's move on to the co-main event of the evening, Dom. Any more questions, anybody?
Come on, guys. This is
not
crazy,
fair.
man. This guy's fucking scary.
Shavkat Rakhmonov shuts out Neil Magny for the better part of 2 rounds before, with 2 seconds left in the round, gets the submission victory. It was a guillotine, right?
Yes.
Guillotine choke to end it off, and that's the second time Shavkat's gotten a guillotine in the UFC, and both times have just out of nowhere just got it. He is very opportunistic with that that submission game, that's a dangerous man right there.
Oh, and to do it against Neil Magny, who is so seasoned, and like his corner was like 10 seconds, and he tapped with 2 left. Like, I think it tells you how exactly.
Yeah, full credit to Neil Magny for taking this fight, but it wasn't close.
No.
It really wasn't.
No.
Rakhmonov easily got takedowns in rounds 1 and 2, and in round 1, he was landing some shots, but not a whole lot happened.
Neil was able to,
Neil was able to minimize the
Yes.
amount of damage that Shavkat could do. I almost thought Shavkat was being a little too laid back or a little too calm. In some of once the legs were being grabbed and stuff, I'm like, are you sure you want to be
he was just chilling, looking at.
Are you sure you want to do that? Because I feel because I always freak out at the idea of being put in a heel hook or something. That scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So whenever I see someone even remotely close to that, I'm like, get out of there.
It's gonna break.
Come on. But round 2, once again, gets a takedown. Had a much better time getting the damage that he was looking for, and then literally it came out of nowhere, just in a sprawl. He just latches onto that head, and it's done. Yeah. And we said a lot about Shavkat coming in here. This was his first big test. We thought a win here, and kind of the sky's the limit. Dominic said it on a tweet. How high can Shavkat fly?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna find out, because they put him in a co-main here for a reason, Dom. I don't actually have a matchup in mind for him next. I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
But all I'm gonna propose, it better be 5 rounds. Shavkat needs his first main event next. It's the kind of main events that we talk about wanting, where they actually add something. There's something at stake. There's something we learn. And putting Shavkat in a 5-round fight, Dominic, the most reasonable question mark to have about him moving forward, if you have a question about him, is going to be, how does he hold up over 5 rounds? How does the cardio hold up? Because he's never even been to a 3rd round. So it's like, how do we even know? But Dominic, he looked so fresh here.
He's so stoic.
He didn't even look to be
nonchalant
slowing at all.
It's crazy.
That I don't even think I have a question about him going 5 rounds.
I don't at all.
But Dominic, do you have a matchup in mind?
I do. Well, it has to be a main event, as you said. That has to be a stipulation in the contract. Has to be 5 rounds. Has to be by the end of the year, because I want him to fight again in 2022.
He called out Stephen Thompson, by the way.
He called out Stephen Thompson. That's a great fight, but I want him to main event against Vicente Luque, 1 spot ahead. It's a guy that's probably more realistic to say yes to that fight, because Luque will fight anyone. Wonder Boy, I don't think he's going to be interested in fighting Shavkat, just to put it lightly. Not that he's afraid or anything. It's just what does Wonder Boy have to prove? He's 38, 39 years old. He probably knows his best days are behind him. Luque probably still feels he can reach a title shot. I think that's a fight that Luque would accept. I think it's a guy that can bring the dog out of Shavkat, if we even get a chance to see the dog be brought out in Shavkat. So yeah, I think that's what you have to do next. There's a lot of guys. I mean, fuck, dude, I could launch him all the way in with Gilbert. To be honest, I don't want to do that.
Would it change your mind if Jeff Neal beats Luque in August? Would that change your mind?
Oh, I forgot that fight was booked.
If Jeff Neal wins, are you saying, well, maybe Jeff Neal, or do you think Luque is just the guy due to the matchup?
Man, what is Jeff Neal right now?
He's 12.
12. He's fighting. I forgot that fight was booked, brother. I guess I can just go winner of that fight, but Luque still just intrigues me so much more than a win over Jeff Neal would do for Shavkat. That even honestly makes me want him to fight Thompson more, just because I don't want to wait. When's that fight, in August?
Yeah.
That could be a war. Wonder Boy's had some time off.
Here's my opinion on the matter, because you just brought this up. So our buddy Branson sent us his 2-year layout for the welterweight division, which was very impressive. He really dove into the X's and O's, how he sees the welterweight division moving the next 2 years. My only issue I had with his layout, and I mean, it's all obviously he knows most of that's probably not going to happen, just because things change, injuries happen. It's hard to predict. But my one thing that I held against it, I said, was I don't think Shavkat's going to be fighting soon. I think nobody's going to want to fight him. Nobody's going to accept a fight with him. It's not going to happen. Wonder Boy will not take that fight.
I don't think so.
At his age and the kind of fights that he's looking for, where he sort of recognizes that a title fight probably isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But, like, he might be clamoring for, like, a Jorge Masvidal rematch. You know, Jorge always had interest in running that fight back. If you have that kind of fight maybe that you're looking at, why would you ever take a fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is maybe the best fighter in this whole division, and we just don't know it yet?
I just changed my mind, by the way.
I'm gonna propose he fight Bilal Muhammad.
Oh.
I'm glad
that was so genuine reaction right there.
You know, I think that him and Bilal, man. I think that how do I word this without?
Oh man.
Bilal, okay, is that fight gonna happen? Probably not. Bilal's probably gonna get like a, I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I have a hard time seeing Bilal getting the fight that he's probably gonna want. So I could see him, being that he's ranked number 5 in a division, struggling to get matched up with someone ahead of him. I could see him having to take a fight behind him. Now, is he going to accept the fight with our boy here? Probably not, Shavkat.
Yeah.
But you know, Dom, I would just love to see that matchup. I just think that would be just a great fight.
Right. I quit, man. We're just going off on a tangent here, but I want to erase everything that I said in the first half of this conversation.
Okay.
I don't want Luque. I don't want Thompson. And this could be wrong, but we just saw a matchup in Tsarukyan and Gamrot headline this event. I want the battle of unbeaten. Someone who's got to go. Sean Brady, Shavkat, 5-round main event. That's what I want. As much as I want both to fight ahead, fuck it. If no one else is available and they're free, do that. If everyone else is going to say no,
it's
Sean
just
Brady
so funny.
might even say
it's
no.
so funny because Sean Brady just said, because he got called out by, who did he get called out by?
Kevin Holland.
Yeah, Kevin Holland called him out. And he said he would take that fight, but that he's got a matchup about to be announced for August, I think. So once again, Dominic. Dominic, you're
Shavkat, Kevin Holland, main event, 5 rounds.
Oh boy, you know Kevin Holland
would definitely take that fight.
But I don't think he should. I don't think he should take that fight.
It's clear. Shavkat, main event, someone, please.
He needs a big fight, and it needs to be a main event. I just think it's gonna be like with Hamza, how it took us forever to see him again until he fought Gilbert Burns. Well, not really. There was that big hiatus before he fought the Leech, and that was a lot of like COVID and stuff. But you know, it felt like Gilbert was just the right guy at the right time. But Hamza would have been waiting forever if that matchup wasn't there. I mean, just because some of these guys ain't going to take this fight. Shavkat is, unfortunately, his name value is still not super high, but he's also maybe the most dangerous guy in the whole division. So, like, what's in it for some of these guys to take that fight?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, no.
But you know what? I think Bilal Muhammad would really, I think that could really be the fight for him.
Right. So, just... We are officially 6 months through the MMA calendar year. We've got 6 months left. We don't see Shavkat fight again in 2022. Is your kind of thought process right now?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, that's.
But I bet
sad.
I bet it'll be early next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad, but you probably won't even realize it until he gets announced. Yeah. The MMA calendar moves so fast that December is going to be here before we know it, and. It is disappointing, but he's off to a great start this year. I could be wrong. For all I know, next week he's going to get announced, and then you can clip this and make me look like an idiot, like Dominic is one to do. But I just have a hard time seeing the recipe here of a absolute killer. 16 wins, 16 finishes, split evenly.
Yes, 8-8. Yeah,
just a beautiful record.
It is.
He's kind of his rank does not represent his talent.
No, not at all.
His name value is very low, He is the literal nightmare for any of these guys ranked above him.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to take it.
Someone.
And I hope it's Belal Muhammad.
Right.
Because I think that would just be a
fantastic
ball of a fight.
Right.
But if not, like someone's going to lose in these upcoming matchups, and somebody's going to fall out of favor where it's like they are forced to take that fight if they want to continue moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, Sean Brady's an interesting one because, yes, he's undefeated, but let's say he loses his August matchup with, I don't know who he might be fighting, but let's say he loses that fight. Well, in order to kind of jump right back in there, he might need to take a fight with a guy like Shavkat, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll find out. What the lay of the land will change over the next 6 months, but I have no doubt that Belal Muhammad, being that he is so, you know, he is a gangster, that he is going to be willing to take that fight if he's a real man, you know.
Right. Bellator 282 happened this weekend as well.
So, more on this.
I never segue. That felt weird.
More on this UFC card to come. You did a pretty good job there, Dom. So
thanks.
So Bellator 282 happened this weekend as well, and we have a new middleweight champion.
Wow.
And it's Kennedy and Chekwani. No, I'm just kidding. It's Johnny Eblen. Johnny Eblen gets it done. He not only defeats Gegard Mousasi, Dom, he shuts him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. In baseball terminology, I was watching a little bit of baseball this weekend, kind of a random side note.
Yeah.
The Astros did like a combined no-hitter on the Yankees.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
You know. That's what Johnny Eblen did to Gegard Mousasi. It was a no-hitter. It was the equivalent of a no-hitter, really.
Yeah.
Like, Gegard, I don't know what it was. Gegard just looked flat here. And I think we got the best Johnny Eblen we've seen up to this point.
Yeah.
And he rose to the occasion and pounced on the opportunity. The new champion of the world, Dominic. I'm curious to know, like, when watching this, your thoughts on kind of as it was transpiring. Did you feel like, were you kind of questioning, did it feel like Gegard didn't show up maybe like the Gegard we had just seen against Vanderford? Or do you think that Johnny Eblen was just having so much success that he was able to kind of make Gegard look like that? You know, what was kind of your opinion while watching?
I think it almost has to be like a perfect mixture of the two, because when we've discussed...
Of course. Look at Dominic, right?
Because when
I asked Dominic a yes or no question, he goes, well, it's actually got to be a little bit in the middle.
Right. Because when we've discussed Gegard before, these like last two title defenses he's had, we've kind of posed the question of, well, the fight years and the age has to catch up to him at some point, you know what I mean? And it hasn't. He's dominated young up-and-comers, an undefeated Austin Vanderford, John Salter, you name it. He's beating people convincingly, by the way. This time, it didn't quite go the same way, but Johnny Eblen had a perfect game plan. Once I think he found where the success lied in the first round, he rode that shit to the promised land for the remainder of the 25 minutes. He clipped Gegard in the first round, or hurt him in the first round. I think it was in the first round.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it was anything too devastating, but I don't know. Maybe Gegard couldn't recover fully, and at some point you've got to just get gassed from getting taken down and dragged and beat up for 5 rounds. Eblen's gas tank's unreal if he can do that for 25 minutes against someone so experienced. That's just so many takeaways for him on that end. I'll be curious to see kind of what comes next too with the way this division plays out. But yeah, for Johnny Eblen to, as Noah said, again, pitch a no-hitter, damn near a perfect game. There might not have even been a walk, Noah, in baseball terms, was very impressive because it's something I didn't see coming. I kept drilling the narrative. Mousasi has seen it all. What are these young guys going to do that have 5, 6 times less experience? And then Johnny Eblen goes out and does this. I mean, it has to happen to everyone at some point. Maybe that's just what it was for Gegard. I don't know.
I was still leaning towards Gegard in our conversation Thursday, but I did make it a point to say, like, guys, you got to stop putting him in this box, Johnny Eblen, that he's just another Austin Vanderford. Like, they're just because it's a wrestler with the undefeated record that's good, but 12-0,
right,
doesn't compare to the experience. Austin Vanderford walked so Johnny Eblen could run.
Yes.
And Johnny Eblen, I didn't think he was going to win this fight. I didn't. But I have thought for a long time that the way he fought Gegard here, this was kind of how I thought Gegard's run would come to an end. I thought a wrestler that could really just bring that pressure and really be confident in his capabilities to get it done, not be too overwhelmed by the striking of Gegard Mousasi, just kind of fight through the fire. I really thought that would be the kind of guy to end the title reign, and that's truly what happened here. And I'm surprised it was in such one-sided fashion. It was an interesting fight because it's like Johnny Eblen dominated the entire fight, but it wasn't like he beat down Gegard. He did it with wrestling. It's not like he did some all-time ground and pound job or anything.
It was just like a deep water.
But it was an impressive performance for sure. Yeah. Now we have a young middleweight champion, undefeated. Good chance that this guy's going to start getting hyped up. I'd be curious to see. I mean, Bellator, if there's one thing I think of when I think of Bellator, it's promotion, obviously.
Right, so, marketing, for sure.
So, I'll be curious to see if they really buy into him as champion. Now, the first question, Dom, on as far as Johnny Eblen as champion, do you run this fight back with Gegard due to Gegard having, 4 title defenses?
I feel like every time there's a title fight in Bellator, do we run it back? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, Gegard, he came in, won the title, had a title defense, lost the title, came back, won the vacant title, has defended twice. This would have been 3. That's good. It's a good reign. Veteran guy, great record. I wouldn't be surprised if they ran it back. Personally, I don't want it to be ran back.
Dominic has this weird thing against Bellator where he thinks that all they do is rematches, when I really think that they don't do any more than the
But
UFC
it's a point of discussion we have every time that there's a title.
Okay.
I wish we didn't even have to ask the question, I guess.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. That's just the way
it
is.
I'm the one with the microphone, so you can shut up. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want to.
The reason I don't think you give an immediate rematch here.
Yeah, thank you.
If the fight was more competitive, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But this would be like giving Tyron Woodley an immediate rematch when he lost to Kamaru Usman. That's how I.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good comparison. Yes.
And nobody was clamoring for that. I think the reason why you might see more people do it with Bellator, Dom, is because Johnny Eblen was kind of this surprise guy for a lot of people. A lot of people he wasn't on a lot of people's radar, and he came in here and won.
Yeah.
While Gegard Mousasi remains probably one of the biggest names in the division for Bellator. So it's what's more appealing? Do you do a title fight with Fabian Edwards or Anatoly Tolkov, who also had a big performance on his card? Or do you run it back with the proven guy who's been a champion? I think that's maybe why we get a lot of that with Bellator, because there is a lot of that. Because once you get outside the top couple names, you start to lose
There's a drop off
name value.
Yeah.
But again, I think that the next fight, really you can't go wrong if you do Fabian Edwards or Anatoly Tokov. I think both those guys have cashed their ticket. I would say Fabian Edwards had that great win against Lyoto Machida at the last Bellator event, I believe. So. You can't go wrong, but I definitely think you stray away from a rematch. Let Gegard go fight maybe the guy who doesn't get the title fight of those two. That'd be a great fight for a card.
Right. I like that. I do.
Anything else before we move on, PFL?
No, a couple more Bellators later, but yeah.
Yeah. More Bellator to come. PFL Week 5. Well, this one got a little crazy.
PFL? No way.
So you had the heavyweights and the featherweights, everybody trying to get their playoff spot here, Dom. We also had one lightweight fight because I know Dominic loves that.
Right.
So I guess I'll just go down what our final standings are for heavyweight and featherweight, and I guess lightweight, and we'll go from there.
Yeah,
right?
Who's fighting who? Yeah.
So at heavyweight, number 1 seed Denis Goltsov finished with 11 points, I believe. I believe he had 2 finishes.
Yeah.
Across his 2 fights. He'll be taking on last season's champion, Bruno Capoloza, in their first round matchup. I believe this is a matchup that's happened before, if I'm not mistaken. Bruno, of course, run roughshot. Unfortunately, lost in the main event here against Mateusz Scheffel, who will not be making an appearance in the playoffs. But that's I'm okay with that one because points wise, it just didn't add up. But Bruno going to be looking to kind of bounce back after a pretty just deflating performance against Scheffel.
Very.
But just very un-Bruno like, So
yeah.
Be interested to see how that one goes. And then our number 2 seed, Ante D'Elia, the runner-up from last season, who had that amazing fight with Bruno in the championships. He is taking on the monster 6'8 behemoth number 3 seed, Renan Ferreira, who I was really excited about. I was really starting to buy into him. He had 2 of the fastest finishes in PFL history, right? The 2 fastest.
Yeah, 25 and 31 seconds.
Yeah, so he had looked like an absolute monster. He's 6'8". I mean, the dude's just a nightmare.
Yeah.
But then in his matchup Friday with Kaitlin Abreu, he had nothing. Nothing. I mean, that was talk about a devastating loss.
Yes.
That one. Whew, and we'll have some more to talk about with that because just to be clear, Renan Ferreira ended up with the same amount of points as Kaitlin Abreu. Kaitlin Abreu had 2 decision victories that gave him 6 points. Renan Ferreira went 1-1, 1 first-round knockout, 6 points.
Yep.
Tied in the standings, they were tied. But Renan Ferreira had the tiebreaker, even though Kaitlin Abreu beat him head-to-head.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
PFL is its own worst enemy, but we'll talk about that. Lightweight. Anthony Pettis, still your number 1 seed.
Yep.
Despite losing in the co-main here via submission to Stevie Ray, who he's going to fight in the first round of the playoffs. I'll be curious to see how that rib heals up for Anthony Pettis, if he'll even be available for the playoffs.
True.
But that's got to be a big story now. That fight's instantly been elevated due to what happened here. Anthony Pettis looked great early, but Stevie Ray able to get the back, able to get the body lock.
Yep.
Pop that rib a la Dustin Poirier, Anthony Pettis back in the day. Dominic being very good at his observation there.
Yep.
So that fight elevated a little bit. And you still get Olivier Aubin Mercier and Alexander Martinez. That's a great fight.
Yeah, that's a good one.
2 versus 3. Unfortunately, Rosh Manfio out this season.
Stevie did what he had to do.
He did. I will admit, as a Rosh Manfio guy, I'm a little disappointed that we don't get to see him and Anthony Pettis running it back in the first round. Would have been a lot of fun. But Stevie Ray gets to win. He deserves to be in there. So then featherweight. Chris Wade, who has really shined, I think, here and really just this season. He'll be taking on Brendan Loughnane.
I love that fight.
We all love Brendan Loughnane, but didn't have... he got 2 decision victories to get him the 4 spot. And really both of them, you kind of blink and miss at fights. Not much to take away. So for the playoffs, I'm really expecting Brendan to kind of step his game up here. He really had to go earn that title or that playoff spot.
Yeah.
And now he really does need to step it up just to make due on the promise that he's shown really up to this point.
Yep.
Also, number 2 seed Ryoji Kudo. Oh my God, probably the moment of the night, the knockout he had against Alejandro Flores, who coming into this had one of the top 4 spots. Just put him out with that right hand.
It was
had
bad.
Vicious intent behind it. Just very vicious. And he'll be taking on Bubba Jenkins, the number 3 seed. So I'm actually really excited for these featherweight top 4. I think the lay of the land makes a little more sense to me. I'm more I like the way it's shaped up for their top 4.
Yeah.
But as far as this event itself, Dom, Mateusz Scheffel gets the unanimous decision win over Bruno Capoloza. Stevie Ray, 2nd round submission over Anthony Pettis. Kaitlin Abreu with the unanimous decision win over Renan Ferreira. And of course, we had some of those knockouts and performances I believe that'd be the prelims. Chris Wade, I think, was the main card fight. But Chris Wade TKOing Kyle Bochniak about 1 minute, 10 seconds in with a head kick.
Yeah.
Ryoji Kudo with that one-punch KO of Alejandro Flores. Brendan Loughnane getting a decision win over Ago Huskik.
Something like that.
So lots of fights, lots of performances, a lot of underdog wins here. Kind of what stood out to you most? Again, it can be a positive reaction you had to a certain fight or fighter, or maybe someone who really disappointed you when the lights shine bright here looking for that playoff spot.
I mean, maybe I'll just do one of each, right? I think the biggest standout to me was Chris Wade. For him to go out there and get a finish like that, a guy that's like known for decisions, but like hard fought, like good fights that he's in. I really liked the fight with Lance Palmer that he had to start the season earlier this year. But for him, like I told Noah this off recording, that performance by Chris Wade and Ryoji Kudo, kudos to both of them. No pun intended there. They both went out and looked for finishes. They wanted to solidify their place in the playoffs, and that's what they deserve. Now they're number 1 and number 2, could even find a matchup against each other in the finals. But Chris Wade more specifically, but both fantastic finishes. Noah, you were the guy that pointed this stat out to me that I didn't know. Going into this week, every matchup prior in the featherweight division was all decisions. And still, those were the only 2 that went out and got a finish. Those are the 2 guys that deserve the most credit, I think, in this division. The disappointment, man, like, part of me wants to go Capoloza, but the other part of me wants to go Renan Ferreira. I'm probably going to go Renan Ferreira. That was tough, man. To just really get dominated like that, not have any answers, copy paste rounds 1 through 3, so long and just so much bigger. You would just think that he would find a way to stay up, but he just couldn't do it against Abreu. And once down there, helpless, couldn't do anything to get off of his back. So it's tough. And shout out to Klitzen Abreu, got a huge win. He doesn't make the playoffs, unfortunately, but that's a huge underdog win. We put out a tweet regarding some of the dogs that were getting victories at Bellator and PFL. Big ones, by the way. If any of you hit on those, let us know. That would have been a good payday. But yeah, I'm gonna go Renan Ferreira. That's disappointing. But he's still in the playoffs, still an opportunity to make it right. So
the odds on, I believe, the top 4 heavyweight fights all went to decisions, and I believe if you had parlayed those to go the distance,
oh boy,
it was like a plus 80,000, like something crazy. I mean, it was insane. You got Renan Ferreira was just a huge dud for me on this card. I mean, the Bruno ones caught me by surprise for sure, but once I feel like maybe it was because it happened after we'd seen Renan Ferreira and Anthony Pettis lose, where I was like, well,
shit,
no surprise anymore.
The
Renan Ferreira one really caught me off guard. I mean, Klitzen Abreu is a good opponent, and he proved that. He went 2-0 this season.
Yeah.
Which adds again to my frustration with the PFL. As much as I like the PFL, dare I say, they're probably my second favorite promotion outside the UFC. I probably like them a little bit more than Bellator.
That's a good discussion.
It is. I've had that inner dialogue in my brain for a while, just kind of comparing, contrasting. But as much as I just said that, they're my second favorite promotion, but they're also like the promotion I hate the most out of all 3.
Yeah.
Because nobody is a bigger enemy to the PFL than the PFL itself.
Yeah.
They do certain things that just make you scratch your head and go like, why? Like, why would you have it, Dom, in your rules to where, like, why wouldn't you make a head-to-head matchup worth the most in terms of a tiebreaker? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I know there's something about there was someone who did a lot of digging into this, and I appreciate them, and I wish I had their name, but I don't. Because there was not just Klitzen Abreu and Renan Ferreira that tied with 6 points. I believe Bruno was also a tie in there because he's 4th. So I guess it was a 3-way tie for the 3 and 4 seed in the playoff. And apparently, since Klitzen Abreu didn't beat both Capoloza and Ferreira, that meant the head-to-head tiebreaker did not give him the edge. Like, it went to the next tiebreaker.
I think that's
which
ridiculous.
I'm going to assume was something about knockouts because Klitzen Abreu 2 decision victories.
But listen, man, like, that's actually such a good point that Bruno had the same amount as well. So I'm guessing Renan got 3 over Bruno because his finish came quicker, right?
Yes.
So to be truthful, you could justify Bruno not getting in and Klitz and Abreu getting in over him even. But to be honest with you, I know that they prioritized the finish. I understand that. But Hannon and Bruno went 1-1. Klitzen went 2-0.
Yeah.
He didn't lose.
Like
that's bullshit.
That's
man.
so crazy to me that you tie.
If you don't lose and the guys you're tied with lost, I don't care if they got a finish.
Like I remember really being happy that they were emphasizing finishes so much, but I just feel like something went wrong in the rules.
Something's got to give eventually. I mean,
like you can't just keep people out who are like beating the people who. Yeah, they might have a 20-second knockout, but then they get absolutely decimated their next time out. I want to see the best fight the best.
Yeah.
And these playoffs should illustrate that.
Yeah.
But they're not really doing that, I feel like, right now. So
Klitz and Abreu should be the 3 seed, and Hennon Ferrer should be the 4 seed, and Bruno shouldn't be in.
You're completely right. Could you imagine if Bruno didn't make the playoffs? That would have been crazy.
Dude, I didn't even recognize all that till we're sitting here now, and I'm just like exploding. Like, what the fuck? That's crazy, man.
It's wild. That it makes the heavyweight playoffs look like a bit of a crapshoot right now.
Yeah.
I think lightweight and featherweight are a little bit better. Yeah, Anthony Pettis as the 1 seed is kind of weird because he's
featherweight's the cleanest one.
Featherweight's the one. I'm like, thank God, like someone's holding up their end of the deal here.
Whew.
Let's talk about Anthony Pettis because now he has moved to 1-3 inside of PFL Smart Cage. I'm curious. You kind of said if he lost here that you feel like that would kind of mark the. Even though, like I said, even with the loss, he's in the playoffs,
right?
And like truthfully, I didn't know what kind of motivation he would have here because of that. Like, are you going to play it safe because you kind of have your spot locked up and $1 million is pretty important, or is he really going to go for it? Well, it looked like he went for it pretty well because, I mean, round 1 he looked really good.
He looked good.
Kicks.
Yeah.
Then crazy things kind of happened, you know.
Right.
I will say, like, it's not just a freak accident that you kind of pop your rib. I mean, he got his back taken by Stevie Ray, and it happened kind of easily.
Yeah.
Which was a bit surprising. Your thoughts on Anthony Pettis as he kind of moves forward here? You know, is there a silver lining to at the end here, or do you feel like this is truly just another example of that Anthony Pettis is maybe just not Anthony Pettis anymore?
Yeah, I'm very close to that. Coming in again, I was a little bit aggressive, and I'm sticking to it. But Pettis didn't go out and lose in the way that I talked about it on Thursday. He lost with kind of the injury, but again, to Stevie Ray's credit, he locked in an insanely tight body triangle, and you have to think that plays into factor because the same thing happened to Pettis with Dustin Poirier with an insanely tight body triangle.
That boy got some weak ribs.
Yeah, I guess. I guess that's the case. So I still there's still a small glimmer for Pettis to whereas if he went out there, lost a 3-round decision, got knocked out, whatever the case. But it's still, man, he is 1-3 at the end of the day. That was my huge narrative on Thursday, and I'm not backing down from it. I think Stevie Ray, honestly, I love that it is kind of worked out to where they're rematching. To be truthful, I think that works out good. For anyone that maybe be like, oh, it was like a freak injury, a little bit. So now you get to see it ran back.
Yeah.
But I do have a hard time thinking Pettis can make it all the way and win this thing. I do. I still have my precautions with
I mean, if he's going to, I right now favor Alban Mercier or Alexander Martinez over Pettis.
Yeah. And honestly, OAM probably would be the top of the 4, I believe, just because his performances have been the cleanest throughout for 6 rounds. But
yeah, I mean, look, I was a little less aggressive, I guess, than you about Anthony Pettis. I was taking into account that this fight really didn't mean that much.
Right, because he was in regardless.
But I will say, if he has to get taken out of the playoffs due to this injury,
that's tough.
All of a sudden, the narrative changes a little bit.
Yeah.
Because right now, I look at it he's got a shot at redemption.
Right.
He's going to face Stevie Ray first-round matchup. And that could be, I mean, I favor Anthony Pettis right now in a second matchup with Stevie Ray. I do. But if he gets taken out, all of a sudden it's man.
Yeah.
You know.
Very.
Now all of a sudden you have to look at the 1-3 in the PFL, and there ain't much of a silver lining. And even if he does go to the playoffs, if he goes to the playoffs and loses, like whether it's to Stevie Ray or in a championship match with OAM or Alexander Martinez, then all of a sudden you have to kind of stare at it again, where it's like, then he's 2-4, and it's like, well,
and he can't get it, reach that title. Yeah.
All of a sudden it feels like Anthony Pettis just needs to win out, or else he is kind of in my mind, I'm going to have kind of that compromised view of his future, in this company.
I would agree. I would.
So a lot of pressure on him for playoffs. So that adds to big storylines, and that's what that's what we like, So
very much.
We'll see. The playoffs, I believe, are happening, and
I think they'll do them in August. August or early September. Playoffs later.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to the fight announcements, Dominic. We're actually going to start with the PFL. This coming Friday, our main event for the PFL 6. Kayla Harrison originally supposed to take on Julia Budd, the former Bellator women's featherweight champion, but she is out of that fight. Kaitlin Young stepping in, who I believe has a record of 12-12-1.
Yep.
Been there for a long time. She's been around for a while, to her credit. But Dominic, scale of 1 to 10, what's your level of disappointment with Julia Budd being out of this fight?
The immediate message I sent Noah when I saw this announcement, because we already thought it was like a miss that they didn't schedule Kayla and Budd first, like as the first matchup. Mm-hmm. Then it got worse because they scheduled it second, which is better than never, but Budd lost her first matchup. So that already put a damper on it. And now she's out of the fight, so I'm like, fuck, man. So yeah, I mean, interest-wise, not super excited. You said 1 to 10, being 10 like this is the best fight ever. Probably like a 2.
No, well, that's not what.
Oh, well, what was the scale?
I need to stop asking you scale questions. You're allergic to scale questions because you either don't answer them.
You said something about 1 to 10.
Yeah, I said, what's the disappointment level with Julia Budd being taken out? Like, because she did lose her first round matchup, but we had kind of been wanting this matchup because it felt like Julia Budd was a step above a lot of these women's lightweights.
Yeah, so a disappointment level that they didn't book it as the first fight was a 10, and then they booked it as the second fight, but it was like a 7 because it wasn't as hype. And now that she's out completely, I got to be at like a 3.
Yeah, look at that. Dominic answered more than I even asked him. So.
That's right. That's right. And, I knew that the haters were going to be coming out for this one. Noah. They had a field day on Twitter, and that's what I expected. Oh, Can Crusher Kayla, yada, yada, yada. She don't make... She didn't request this.
She just shows up. She just
shows up. But so whatever. Haters are gonna hate. That's fine. It's unfortunate for Kayla. She doesn't get to fight a name like Julia Budd. I will say though, if she goes out and doesn't get like a finish, because she had, it was a relatively lackluster fight in her first one. Honestly, she may even need a finish. I don't know how the rest of the standings are playing out, but if she gets another decision, I don't know if it's even a guarantee.
That's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, so I think there is a lot of pressure on Kayla to just really go out here, get a finish early, because on paper, a 12-12-1 opponent, that's probably what she should do, right? So,
dude, if Kayla missed the playoffs for the PFL,
you got to figure they'd find a way to.
They just find a way.
Yeah, with their
someone all of a sudden, one of those 4 top lightweights, they'd all of a sudden go down with an injury. And...
When we preview Thursday, we'll have the standings kind of up, and we'll see, because I know that there were a couple finishes, and Kayla didn't. So
yeah, that's interesting, Dom. Next one. We have a couple for UFC 276 also happening.
Damn it, these are all denouncements in a row.
Yeah, that's true. Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate off of the main card of UFC 276. And then Bobby Green is unfortunately out versus Jim Miller. But
yeah,
Cowboy Cerrone stepping in on short notice. July 2nd, UFC 276. This is supposedly going to be Cowboy's last fight. It's a rematch with Jim Miller, a fight he won the first time out. These two fight denouncements, Dom, which one hurts a little more? I mean, I guess, one of them got saved with Cerrone, but just the fights themselves, Bobby Green, Jim Miller, Lauren Murphy, Miesha Tate, which fight are you more disappointed in being out?
I'm more disappointed in Green versus Jim Miller. I think that was going to be a really cool fight between two savvy vets. But again, Donald steps in. It's a rematch many, many years in the making. They're doing it at 170 because I know originally they were like, well, Donald didn't want to cut all that weight again. Now it's at 170, so it's not as bad. So that's good. I don't know how that benefits Jim Miller, though. Jim Miller's like a pretty pure 155er, so Donald's going to look pretty big in that. Anyway, it sucks we get Lauren Murphy and Miesha Tate. That's the second time that's been moved off of a card. Lauren Murphy pulled for undisclosed reasons. They were looking for a short notice replacement for Miesha. Doesn't look like it's going to happen because the fight is in 6 days. I think the front runner for that is to do it on July 16th, Long Island on ABC. That card's already super stacked for that card, which is really cool. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Bobby Green, Jim Miller, that stinks. That was
am I the messed up person because I don't care about Miesha Tate?
I figured you didn't care too much about that being off. So
well, you're gonna tell me you do?
Probably just more than you, but yeah, not much. Right. Miesha Tate was the one I wanted to go bowling with, so come on.
So she could give you relationship advice.
Right. Man, how far we've come.
ONE FC announced their next featherweight title fight.
Hey now, come on.
ONE 160 on August 26th. We'll see Thon Lee taking on Tong Kai. I hope I said that name right.
That was good.
He's a number 1 contender. I did look that up in their rankings. Again, don't know a ton about some of these guys that are going to be fighting, but Thon Lee, guy that's looked really good
stud.
for one. Yeah, an absolute stud. Even though he is 37, 36, something like that.
He's older.
So, very intriguing title fight. I'm just going to be excited to have a pretty big one card back so we can, just more content for us to watch.
Yeah, well, that's that big weekend for them. They're going back to back, double headers. And they start the Amazon deal with Demetrius Johnson the following day.
Okay,
so
cool.
That's going to be it's a big weekend in general, but another title fight added.
See, I'm glad you knew that because I did not. So
Yes, sir.
Let's get into the tidbits.
Still love that you called it this. I love it.
So, speaking of baseball, Dom, Arizona Diamondbacks.
from 20 minutes ago, but yeah.
Arizona Diamondbacks had a game the other day, and Sugar Sean O'Malley threw out the first pitch. And Dominic, it was an absolute zinger.
Nice. I didn't see it. That's 2 tidbits in a row.
Oh, my God.
I did go back and watch Darren Wynn's video, though, and that was funny as shit.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and paste that into last episode so we can put your reaction in there.
Yeah.
So then next episode, when you see the Sean O'Malley first pitch, we can put your reaction.
We'll be previewing his fight. Right. Yep.
Well, that's true, too. Look, it was he put Conor McGregor to shame. I'm just going to put it like that.
That was, I remember that.
All of a sudden, the people were asking, is Sean O'Malley better than Conor McGregor? Well, at throwing a first pitch, yes.
Good for Sean O'Malley. Sure. Hey, I mean, he's been doing the basketball celebrations. He's just a jack of all trades.
Now he needs to do a baseball throw. He said the clock hit 9,000 miles per hour or something like that. So.
He's just bringing back Randy Johnson vibes, huh? Former Diamondback pitcher.
Yep, there you go. My favorite baseball player of all time. So,
yeah.
Nice reference. Jimmy Rivera. This was one I forgot.
It's our boy.
You remember Jimmy Rivera, former top 10 perennial bantamweight top 10. It's an interesting way to explain him.
Yeah.
A guy who had won 20 fights in a row.
Yeah.
Something crazy. We sat by his family at UFC 203 in Cleveland. Became really good friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
He had signed a deal, I forgot about this, with BKFC, Dom, and he made his debut over the weekend, and he went to a majority draw on his first time out. Are you impressed by Jimmy Rivera? He is pretty much known for just his wrestling. He goes out, he decides to go sign with the sport where you can't use that, and goes to a majority draw his first time out.
Better than a loss, I guess, right? I mean,
he was the fourth. I believe he was the fourth fight from the top. I saw the card and I was like, huh. I was like, man, they're putting Jimmy kind of low on.
I know. Typically, when they get these UFC guys, they'll put them relatively high.
This card had that rematch. It was some women's fight that they had. Britain Hart, you remember?
Oh yeah, kind of
she
crazy.
Was fighting
post-fight.
who was that? Oh, she was fighting that girl who fought in the UFC.
Well, she fought Paige.
Yes, but it was someone else.
With
all the tattoos. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
She got recently married to another former UFC fighter who's in BKFC, and I can't remember. It's not that.
Pearl Gonzalez.
No.
Not it.
No, not at all. You also said that name really fast too.
I thought she fights in BKFC.
Kennedy Chikwani. Anyways. UFC 276, by the way, their prelims are going to be simulcast on ABC, Dom. So it's going to be the first time ABC showing off pay-per-view prelims. Is this something that we should expect more often?
I think so. I think it'd be really cool. I like that they're doing this. They're really making International Fight Week feel huge this year. It is kind of like their first one back because like they did it last year, but it was still a little weird. This one was
last year. Was last year's the Abu Dhabi UFC 267?
Yeah, like they didn't really have like an event, like in Vegas because they
did the pool parties and stuff, but it wasn't the same.
So they're really going all out and good on them. And ABC. Well, it's big because they're doing the prelims on ABC, and then July 16th is the ABC card in Long Island with Ortega and Rodriguez. So I want it to be more commonplace. So I love it.
Yeah, I will say after Saturday's card that had the prelims on ESPN2 and then the main card on ESPN. Let's please have a better paced prelims than what we got Saturday. I mean, I had to tweet it out on our below average Twitter. Dominic, you had to agree a little bit. I mean, I know you don't like to criticize your baby boys at the UFC, but you have to agree a little bit. I mean, I was sitting there about to doze off in between fights. I'm like, how many Tsarukyan Gamrot fucking hype videos can you get on one? I'm already watching the card. Just get it on. Come on.
Yeah, it was one of those times. It was Beck Rawlings, by the way. I had to go back. I'm sorry, but she has fought Pearl Gonzalez. They fought last year in November.
Okay. Anyways,
back. Sorry, I was looking that up while you were talking. What was the question?
Oh my god, Chris Cyborg.
Oh, the prelim pacing. Prelim pacing. Sorry, dude. I was so dead set on finding out who that fight was. BKFC. Because I love BKFC so much. It was slow. It was slow. It wasn't great. But when there's first round finishes, like that's just the problem, I guess. Because they book 3 hours. I think 3 hours for six fights is a bit much. Because that's 2 fights an hour.
Yeah.
But what if they all go to the decision? You know what I mean? So like they have to schedule if that were the case.
That's why I'm saying I don't love it when we have our prelims on. Even though I know it's good for business to have them on like a network. It just makes me worried. And that's why seeing ABC's going to have them, I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no. We're going to have 30 minutes between fights again. Like, oh, my God.
Yeah, that's going to be, 8 to 10, so 2 hours for 4 fights. So, we'll see.
Oh, fuck. Shit, dude. ABC, fucking, just get your
I just want to see
together.
John Anik and them jackets with the logo on it.
Okay, last one. Chris Cyborg. The Bellator women's featherweight champion. We've been kind of, we've been talking a lot about what her next fight might be. Kat Zingano, who won on Friday night, we've been mentioning as the girl that we think she should be fighting next. Well, Dominic, she's not even thinking MMA.
Yeah.
She is in talks with Katie Taylor for a December boxing super fight. Are you in on this?
I'm in. This is sick.
I'm actually really in on this.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, not going to run it back because Amanda Serrano is the co-main on that Jake Paul card in
August.
And I forget who she's boxing, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
But since they're not running that fight back immediately, I mean, for Katie Taylor, this would be huge to get a Chris Cyborg fight. I mean,
oh yeah.
And again, you have to favor the boxer pretty heavily. But dare I say, I give Chris Cyborg a better chance in this fight than like Conor against Floyd.
Oh yeah.
Than Francis against Tyson, Fury. Yeah. I actually give her a pretty decent shot. I'm actually intrigued to watch this.
Yeah, very much. You were probably surprised I was so on board. I bet just a little, maybe not.
A little bit. I mean, I know you kind of hate boxing, which is very weird. But
I just don't watch boxing.
the guy loves MMA. The guy loves MMA, but he hates boxing. Just weird.
I would watch that one. I would watch that one.
Yeah, there you go. See, so it's working. Yeah, big. I'm. Would you? Okay, now here's a question. This is gonna test your MMA. It's gonna test if you're truly ride or die MMA guy here. What fight would you rather see next? Chris Cyborg, Katie Taylor boxing, Chris Cyborg, Kat Zingano.
Oh gosh.
Don't you lie. Don't you fucking lie for a second.
Well, then I have to stick to my MMA guns then. I was going to try and make you...
There's no way you would rather see her and Zingano next.
I mean, yeah.
You are so full of shit. It's amazing. It's amazing. Look, I'm not going to beat you down because I can tell that hurt you a little bit.
Well, I thought you were expecting me to say MMA and then say you're insane, you're crazy.
Why don't you just say what you feel? Because instead of trying to guess what I think you're going to say.
Cyborg Katie Taylor is way more exciting.
Was that so hard? You just ripped the Band-Aid off.
That did feel good. I felt like a literal weight lift off my shoulders there.
Well,
I'm just convinced. Bellator doesn't want that fight anyway, so...
That's it for Tidbits, everybody. So, Well, look, they'll probably let it happen, though, because they let MVP do BKFC. So.
No, I meant like her and Kat. They just don't seem to want to do.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Let's get into the rest, and we'll start with the UFC again. Umar Nurmagomedov made pretty easy work of Nate Maness from Kentucky. Umar, I think, only allowed one significant strike, so those are some Hamzat-like numbers there.
Holy shit.
How do you grade Umar Nurmagomedov's performance here?
B plus. A would have been a finish, but he looked unstoppable. He
looked great.
Yeah, I mean,
he looked great, but he didn't really do anything like unexpected. I mean, I could tell he was trying to get a finish, but Nate Maness, I think that showed maybe how good Nate Maness is too. That defensively speaking, he was very smart and kind of like, even though he was completely outmatched on the ground, he also didn't really allow Umar to get too much offense off. So more power to him. Umar's a problem. His leg kicks or not leg kicks. His kicks are just so fast. I mean, you saw the one that landed flush on the chin.
And Nate just ate it, dude.
Well, you almost like I wouldn't have, like, I believe the commentary caught it, but I almost didn't even see it. I was like, wait a minute, did that land?
It was so fast.
Like, he was just so fast. So he's a real problem here. Unranked bantamweights. I mean, I was looking up like who's unranked in bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight last night. And I mean,
I can't even imagine. Yeah,
it's crazy. Chris Curtis getting a hard fought unanimous decision win over Rodolfo Vieira. What do you think?
Great performance. Way better than I expected. 20 takedown attempts for Vieira. 20 stuffed takedowns for Chris Curtis. In his 3 UFC fights, no, he's 26 of 26 on takedown defense. Wow. He was piecing up Vieira on the feet. To Vieira's credit, much better looking on the feet than his previous UFC fights. Gas tank, still bad, but better.
Oh, yeah, he did slow down, but I mean, it might have been just the body work.
Work was chef's kiss.
It wasn't near as bad as Alexander, Fluffy Hernandez.
Yeah.
I forget Fluffy's first name. Is it Alexander? It's not Alexander.
Anthony Hernandez.
Yeah, I thought Chris Curtis looked great here. He probably, if he really wanted to, he may have been able to get a finish, but I think he was very aware of Rodolfo Vieira's takedown. So if he got a little if he overextended just a bit, all of a sudden he does get taken down. So you have to walk away very impressed with the takedown defense, the body work. And for Vieira, I thought Vieira's striking was much better than I have ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was popping Chris Curtis with the jab quite a bit. Mm-hmm. It didn't hold up, and obviously I think while I give him props for that, and I'm actually impressed with the striking, I also, on the other end, was very, disappointed in his takedowns. They were very telegraphed. Yes, Chris Curtis had amazing takedown defense, but Like, after the first few tries, I feel
Yeah.
like Vieira just really, the takedowns were not near as smart. Or
They became very desperate. You know?
So I still don't really know what Rodolfo Vieira's future is in the UFC. I don't know what kind of ceiling he has, but a very interesting matchup for anybody. A bit of a middleweight. He's a big middleweight, too. Like, he's huge.
He's huge, yeah.
So I wanted, coming in, I was prepared to call him like a middleweight Damian Maia, but he's really not. His striking's better, but he also seems to have a harder time getting the fight to the ground. Like, he's just, I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. By the way, Chris Curtis needs a ranked fighter next, too.
Yeah, I feel like we say that a lot each week about certain guys, and it just doesn't seem to happen. But, I mean, look at the 3 wins. Phil Halls, Brendan Allen, Rodolfo Vieira. Those are all 3 very credible names. And
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see him get someone like that next.
What a career for that guy, man.
It's
So
an
interesting.
one. Yeah. Carlos Ulberg had a lot of fans in the stands, including 2 guys that will be defending their titles next Saturday, Israel Adesanya and Alexander Volkanovski. And they saw him get the quick minute 15-second TKO of Tafon and Chukwi. Dominic, Carlos Ulberg, yes, he had that stumble moment out the gate against Kennedy and Chiguani, but it seems like he's bounced back here. Do you think he has quite a bit of potential to maybe make a run in the UFC?
Oh, I think he does have a relatively high ceiling. He's with an insane camp, obviously, with City Kickboxing. And he's just clean. He's long. He's rangy. Physically very gifted, very strong. And that was just, he started that with a very kind of like in between a hook and a jab, like a mixture with his left hand. It was a very impressive shot that wobbled Tafon. Then he just went in for the kill, man. So he's got power. He's got technique and precision, much like his counterparts in the stands. So yeah, I think I very much believe in his potential.
I'm starting to believe in it more. This was like the performance that really put it all together.
Yeah.
Against Kennedy, he was very aggressive out the gate, but he gassed.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get the finish, and then Kennedy kind of came back and had that crazy comeback. Then against his next fight was against Fabio Cherant.
Bit of a dud,
And then he was very patient.
Yeah.
Did enough to get the win, but never really put it into a second gear. Here, this was a very good performance. Really put the best of both together. It was only a minute 15 seconds, but he's still very green. But I definitely like what I'm seeing after this.
Yeah.
Last one for the UFC, Mario Bautista.
Woo!
Makes that back-to-back wins, gets the first-round sub of Brian Kelleher first round. So, Dominic, Mario Bautista, another unranked bantamweight here. He seems to sandwich these back-to-back wins with losses. So, unfortunately, if you go off of the what do you call it?
The pattern.
He should lose his next fight, but I think Mario Bautista has a little bit of something. I don't know if he'll ever quite be like a top 15 guy, but I'm willing to see how far he can go.
Yeah, to do that to Brian Kelleher so quickly, that's still like a good.
It's impressive.
Solid.
It's becoming a little less impressive because I think that's back-to-back first-round
Umar
submission
did
losses.
it. Yeah.
Which, I mean, that says a lot about the kind of matchups Brian Kelleher's taken on.
He fights all the time against anybody, man.
He is like 9-8 in the UFC, but I don't think he's fought a ranked fighter ever. He fought a current one champion, John Lineker.
Oh yeah, I feel like he's always on the cusp, close to it, but not in it.
Not anymore, but maybe at one time. But unfortunately, he's kind of a win one, lose one. Fun fighter.
Yeah.
Brings a lot out of these young guys, so I think that's kind of why the UFC value having him around. But I don't think he's really he's not really even close probably to top 15 anymore. More Bellator to talk about. Danny Sabatello got the unanimous decision win over Leandro Higo. That means he'll be taking on Rafael Stotts for the interim bantamweight title in the semifinals. What'd you think of Sabatello here? He talked a big game in the lead up. Do you think the performance lived up to what he kind of talked?
Dude, Danny does what Danny does, man. I mean, he just he mauls opponents for 5 rounds. He's done it 2 times in a row now in this Grand Prix. So he does talk a big game. Super entertaining guy on the mic.
Yeah.
Him and Rafion Stotts together is even more entertaining.
That lead up's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And they did, even it started, they brought him in the cage. Bellator still likes to do that. UFC used to do it a long time ago. Flips him off immediately. Rafion hits his hand down. That's a sick fight. I think it's a really fun fight. I think it's high level fight when you look past all of the shit talking that's going to go on. And I'm very much excited for it. Yeah.
I'm leaning right now to where that feels like the real final.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that. No, I shouldn't say that because Magomedov, I think, deserves more credit than that. But Stotts did beat Magomedov, so I'm not sure if how that matchup would go a second time. I won't say that. I did say it, but I take it back.
But not the cleanest of wins for Magomedov.
Well, for Savatello, what I would say is he did face a little bit of adversity. I mean, Higo did take a round from him, and but Savatello, for the most part, once the fight really kind of got into the later rounds, it was mostly a dominant performance. So good for him. Magomedov, as you were alluding to, did have a pretty hard-fought victory over Enrique Barzola, round 4 submission. I was actually a little bit surprised at how much success Barzola had in this fight.
Yeah.
But then once the fight was over and I was looking at Barzola's resume, I probably shouldn't have been because, yes, he's only ranked number 10 in Bellator, but this is a former UFC guy who had a pretty decent run in the UFC, has never been finished in his career.
Yep.
And then here he goes and loses via submission to Magomedov. So, while this was a hard-fought win for Magomedov, I think it was a very quality win to add to his resume.
Man, you really that sentence was so perfect description-wise.
Speaking of Anatoly Tokov, who we said could be next for Johnny Eblen, well, he made a good case for it, Dom. He gets the TKO over Muhammad Abdullah. Who the fuck is that? Just Bellator's matchmaking,
I know,
continuously
not good,
just raising the bar here. But he does completely dominate his opponent from pillar to post. Impressive performance.
Yeah, very much so. I think he's 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
5th. I believe Fabian's 4th.
Do we match them up, Noah?
No, I think one of them gets
one gets shot. One, and one gets Gegard, like you said.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And now that I'm
because Fabian was coming off of a losing streak prior to beating Lyoto. Anatoly, riding a win streak? Question mark?
Oh, you're asking me this.
I have Sherdog pulled up. I did.
Well, I was looking up the Bellator rankings because I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
About middleweight. So Johnny Eblen now going to be the champion. Gegard going to be number 1. Number 2, Alston Vanderford. Number 3, John Salter. Fabian Edwards is actually tied for 3rd. How do you like that?
I fucking hate ties. Anatoly's on an insane win streak. He should get the title fight.
He's 30-2. Yeah, 30-2.
He's undefeated in Bellator.
So maybe you give Fabian Edwards, Gegard, or Vanderford. Although I think Vanderford and him fought already. I think that's a fight.
They had. Yeah, that was a fight that.
So maybe you do Fabian Edwards, Gegard Mousasi, and then you do Tokov, Johnny Eblen for the title. 30-2.
30-2, undefeated in Bellator.
Johnny Eblen 12-0 now, so good stuff. Last one, Sabah Hamasi, maybe the most exciting fighter you've never heard of. I know I've given that title before on this show, but he gets the first round, just under first minute KO of Makan Mendonca, which I love that name.
That is a cool name.
But Dominic, that knockout was fucking brutal.
Yeah, there were a couple of brutal knockouts this weekend between PFL and Bellator that they just get buried on the prelims that don't get the credit they deserve, but we're never going to let them slide.
Sabah Hamasi fought in the UFC for a while, but I remember him most from, at least recently, he had an absolute war with Paul Daly. That was one of those fights where I can't remember if it got out of the first round, but if it didn't, it's like one of the best one-round fights you'll ever see. Just an absolute war. That's all Sabah Hamasi does. Maybe against what the smart people would tell him to do, but man, right here, that knockout, Mendonca went down. He went down.
I'm taking these off here.
Let's move to the below average bet slip.
Oh.
Look, I said, Dominic, don't let the Joes get hot. Did I not? Did I not warn people?
You told them.
Now it's a bit of a limp dick ending because that main event really did swing things a little bit. But we do come out positive 3 units. We are now back into the green for our 2022 standing. That's why you're actually seeing it. If it was red, we would not be showing it. So, Dominic, your thoughts on kind of everything that took place? Was there anything that surprised you here?
Well, you know what? Actually, I do want to talk about my +105 parlay. Thiago Moises, by the way, shout out to him. He came back and had a huge bounce back win that I expected him to have, but he did it just so much better. Got the submission win, 1 arm rear naked choke. But TJ Brown, fun fight with Nerdon Beck.
Nerdon Beck, yeah.
Nerdon Beck. Great fight, super scrappy. I didn't know that he has a James Krause. He's got Bryce Mitchell in his corner down there from Arkansas. Just a fun, scrappy dude. Very hard fought match, but it was one of those that's I kind of texted when Thiago came on. I'm like, man, it's so disappointing, like having a parlay and then you already have lost it, but the second guy's about to fight. It stinks. So TJ went out on his shield. It was a fun fight. I can't be upset about it. That was kind of like my long shot one anyway, getting the plus money odds. So it's all right. And obviously the other parlay that Noah and I both missed, we had Arman, man. And that's why Noah said the limp dick ending to the card and to the bet slip. Because
did that add to a little bit of my robbery speak? Maybe. I'll admit it. Betting bias, maybe. But I really did believe Arman Tsarukyan won that fight.
No, I do too. Yeah.
You know, it's disappointing because we did have, that was our biggest bet, 2.43 units, just passing Chris Curtis. But, you know, we still ended up with a very positive week. It sucks because if we would have got that, Dom, we would have had probably our biggest week ever.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely obviously a huge swing. Amanda Nurmagomedov under 2.5. I was a bit surprised, but after a while, I just kind of knew, like, shit. Manis is so tough, he's not going to get finished. Nurmagomedov's not overly doing it, especially with Khabib in his corner telling him everything he needs to hear. So that's all right, but again, all that I can say is that there's no regrets in terms of the bets on the plays for me personally, and that's all that matters. I
was actually a little surprised that your girl Vanessa Demopoulos got the nod, so that was one that could have swung wildly the other way. 30-27
scorecard was terrible, but I could have seen it being 29-28.
Yes.
30-27 was bad though, but I plus 2.2 units on that.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's my biggest money line hit that I've hit this year.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's it's tough, and honestly, the MMA gods had to take away that parlay from us because we had the easiest play of all time, which was Bay's Durden to inside the distance or under 2.5 rounds. I mean, plus money on those. That was the easiest plays of all time.
Oh yeah, love that very much. Hey, look at the singles there. What is that? 6-2 on the singles, so that's great.
Yeah, and I mean the Manis money line that was just kind of thrown out.
Really, it's 6-1. Let's be honest. So
come on. But that's gonna wrap it up for this part of the show. I want to remind everyone where they can find us on social media.
You said that so disappointed.
Twitter, Instagram at BAJ_MMA podcast, as well as TikTok, by the way.
Yeah.
You can also find Dominic on Twitter or Instagram at DSLE14, and you can find myself on Twitter or Instagram at NTBaker_. With that being said, Dominic, that is not how we end our shows anymore.
That's right.
We do it with a little closing statement. So as we head into the brand new week, fight hangover's kind of wearing off after we really let it all out here. We kind of like getting in a sauna. That's what these Monday shows feel like. They feel like a little sauna after a tough night of drinking, you know?
Yeah.
So now that I'm feeling kind of refreshed, I'm feeling good, got a lot off my chest here. But this is the part of the show where me and you can talk about anything and everything, MMA related, non-MMA related, just whatever's on our mind to send us into the new week. So Dominic, what do you got on your mind for closing statements?
First thing that came to mind, I get to help the wonderful newlyweds, our good friend JP and his wife Rihanna. They're moving in to their first apartment on Monday, so I get to help them out. He said, Dom, if you help me out, I'll cover your next round of golf. I said, say no more. I'm in, baby. So I'm going to help them move in. I'm very excited for them. They're starting this next chapter of their life. Also, JP, a supporter of the show, a close friend. I just had to give them some love here to close it out.
Yeah, why do you say it so weird, though? You're like, saying...
And that's all for the show today. Noah gets no closing statements on today's show.
You're like,
just kidding.
My friend, JP, he... You say it like you're whispering sweet nothings in a little mama's ear, you know.
Maybe some people listen to us as ASMR. You don't know.
Your voice with that slight country twang to it, I think, is a great ASMR voice.
I'll go right here in your left.
While me, I have my fucking mouth breather voice, like just not happening.
What do you got? Come on.
Look, dude, take it easy, all right?
All right.
Closing statements. I'm trying to learn how to do a little bit of video editing. Only, not to help our show, you know,
Right.
not to help Dom out, but just so I can make funny
Memes.
I want to take videos. I want to put our faces on them.
To be fair, like those can be used in the podcast, so it will in turn help me.
True.
Don't worry.
So I've been trying to learn, but it's really probably not that hard. It's just finding the right app or whatever to do it on. But I had this great idea. You know, it's kind of weird. Like after the last few weeks where our betting had just like, I mean, I think my testosterone level dropped like 80% just because of our lack of success in the betting world. Like I just felt like such less of a man each week.
Yeah.
And now that we've had these bounce backs, I'll admit, Dom, there was a part of me hoping that one of our bets didn't hit, only so that I could make this meme of the clip from Jurassic Park where he walks up and it's this big pile of shit. And he goes, that is one big pile of shit. And I was going to just put the bet right there. And I was so ready. And I was like, maybe I do it for the Nate Manis one. Didn't happen.
Well, now I know it's in the back pocket.
I did find something to use it for. Again, I just have to learn how to like do it.
When you perfect it, we're gonna skyrocket
Oh,
on social media,
Dude, it's gonna
on
get
YouTube. Yeah, I love it.
Shout out to GC for the inspiration. That guy doesn't. He never misses.
Yeah, Connor Burks, what a beast.
He
Absolutely.
does not miss, and he's my inspiration to try to get better at this.
Yeah, Noah and I just send his tweets back and forth and laugh at them like all day.
Yeah, it's very true, very true. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for us here. I'm Noah Baker. That's Dominic Salee. We're the Below Average Joes, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.